So here we are at the Atlas 12-inch lathe. I have a piece of stock in the chuck. This is aluminum, 6061 T651 aluminum. I'm going to go ahead and face it and turn it down to our diameter of 1 inch 491 thousandths. I'll try to get it to the 2/10, but we'll see how that goes. So I'll go ahead and do that first. Then I'll get the knurl set up and we'll start our part. So I've got my part turned down to 1 inch 491 thousandths. I missed my 2/10. When I've already set the knurl's height, I use this particular bar right here. This is basically the center, and from the flat part of the way up was 6 inches. So that should be set. I'm going to go ahead and set my feed rate to 30 threads per inch, is roughly 33 thousandths per revolution. So on a part such as this, I've got my knurl wheel set about half a wheel off the edge of my part. I don't know if you can really see that, but that's what it is. It's about half a wheel, half a knurl wheel off the edge. And that's always a good place to start. That's what the knurl people say. It's always worked pretty well for me. Spindle speed I will keep probably around 100 RPM, maybe a little more. If you're looking for the proper speed, the knurl people say about 30 to 40% less than standard cutting speed for high-speed steel. So that would be about 200 surface feet per minute. Now if you do the math, 1.5 diameter part will run about 509 RPM for 200 surface feet per minute. If you take away 30%, that's going to be roughly 150 some odd RPM. So it's still going to be 350 RPM, which is still way too fast. So I like to knurl a little bit slower and just take my time at it, so I don't get in too much of a hurry and destroy the part or the knurl itself. So I'm just going to eyeball it when I get there around 100, maybe less, maybe more, and see how it's doing. I'm going to go ahead and get started, and the oil I'm using, if you can see this or not, the oil I'm using is just a baby oil, mineral oil. I think it had a little bit of transmission fluid mixed in with it at one point, so it's red. It's about 150 RPM. Give it a little bit of a turn. So we'll go ahead and start our knurl. think I'm going to take just a little bit of speed off of it. So there's 115 RPM. Tighten it down a little more. Change feed direction. Well, the knurl is starting to take place. I'm going to go ahead and time lapse the rest of this. You kind of get the idea, just the back and forth motion of this thing at a slow spindle speed with a little bit of tightening in between, and sometimes without tightening, just to go back and forth to run it down. So just keep an eye on how often this goes back and forth, and keep an eye on how often that I tighten this up. And when I tighten this up, it's not very much. Very little movement here makes a big difference on the part. Then whenever I get done, I'll take a couple of still shots of it and show you the result. Well, that went by pretty quick. So I've got the knurl to form, which I'll add the still picture of. All the little pyramids are made, or teepees, or diamond shapes that you want to see. They're all there. Now, since this knurl is completely formed, you could actually grip a hold of it and you can feel this thing dig into your hand. So it's nice and sharp. I don't want it sharp. Well, you say, why didn't you just stop, before it was completely formed? Well, I wanted to form it so I could show you what a formed knurl looks like. So I'm going to clean it up with a wire brush, since it is sharp, because I don't want it cutting me while I'm trying to use it for my little project. Now we also have this little lip that's going to be cut off whenever I do the chamfer on this part, but I'm going to bore it out and part off pieces of it that I want to keep. So there'll be 2 or 3 of these pieces that I'm going to keep, and each one of them I'm going to have to chamfer on both sides. But using baby oil to lubricate the knurl, I clean it off with WD-40. I took it nice and slow, and notice I didn't ever use a wrench to tighten down the knurl. This knurl is so light that it doesn't take a whole lot of pressure to put the knurl in. So you don't have to use a wrench. So in conclusion, we have the part made now. The knurl is complete, and to show you what I made, sometimes you're sitting on the back patio enjoying a nice bottled beverage, and the fly comes along and lands on the edge of your bottle. Nobody likes that, neither do I. I don't want to put the cap back on because I have to get it just right and screw it on there, and if you drink enough of these things, sometimes you don't have that dexterity that you probably need. So I made this little guy right here, our little knurled project, to fit on top of my bottle. It's knurled just so I don't drop it. So if you drink enough of them, it's hard to hang on to things like this. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this episode. Subscribe to my channel if you like what you've seen so far, and you can always check me out on Facebook under Stephen Prenger, or follow the link there on YouTube. Thanks for watching.